There's a quiet truth no one talks about. The moment you stop gripping so tightly, the right things begin to show themselves. Not because you chased them into staying, but because your stillness gave them room to breathe. You stop pulling at strings, stop trying to keep everyone and everything in place, and strangely, things start settling on their own. That's the paradox. We grow up thinking effort is what keeps it all together. Hustle, chase, hold on. But what if the real shift happens when you don't try so hard? When you stop proving your worth and start reclaiming your peace? When you stop begging life to deliver what isn't aligned and trust that what's meant to stay will stay? Without force, without fear? This isn't about letting go to move on. It's about letting go to finally see what was real all along. We live in a world that worships control. Every self-help book, every podcast, every quote plastered online tells you to take charge of your life, set goals, chase dreams, stay on top of everything. And sure, discipline has its place, but there's a difference between guiding your life and suffocating it. See, when you micromanage the universe, when every second of your day is spent trying to bend reality to your will, what you're really doing is blocking the very thing you're hoping to receive. You're operating from fear. Fear that if you don't hold on, it'll all fall apart. Fear that surrender means failure, that letting go means giving up. But letting go isn't weakness, it's wisdom. It's understanding that not everything is yours to fix, that sometimes your job isn't to build the bridge, just to stop standing in the way of it. And the moment you step aside, something shifts, not outside of you, but inside. Your nervous system calms down, your mind stops spinning, and suddenly, you can hear what life has been whispering all along. You realize the path wasn't blocked, it was just crowded by your expectations, your timeline, your need for it to look a certain way. And when you remove that pressure, life finally has room to move. There's a strange kind of silence that comes right after you finally let go. Not the kind that feels like loss, but the kind that feels like peace. It's that moment when you stop trying to make the pieces fit. Stop refreshing your phone, waiting for that message. Stop replaying the same scenario in your head thinking, if only I'd said this instead. That's when you start to feel something new, relief. You begin to breathe differently. You stop gripping life with clenched fists, and for the first time, your shoulders drop. It's subtle, quiet, but it's powerful. Because now, you're not chasing, you're attracting. You're no longer shouting into the void, you're listening. And in that listening, life begins to show up for you. Not because you forced it, but because you finally stepped out of its way. Think of the things that have come to you when you weren't even looking for them. The unexpected friendships, the moments of clarity during a walk, the job offer that landed when you had just decided to stop stressing. These aren't coincidences. These are signs that alignment doesn't come from tension. It comes from trust. Trust that what's meant for you doesn't need to be controlled. That timing isn't just something you manipulate, it's something you align with. And that alignment only happens when your energy matches what you seek, not when you're obsessing over how to get it. Letting go doesn't mean you're no longer moving. It means you're no longer dragging yourself through mud trying to force movement. Now, you're flowing. And that flow, that's where everything begins to change. You see, when we grip too tightly to how we think life should unfold, we block the magic that's trying to make its way in. We become fixated on one outcome, one person, one version of success, and in doing so, we limit the infinite possibilities life could have delivered if we had just loosened our grip. It's like staring at a single door, convinced it's the only way through, while forgetting you're in a hallway full of others, quietly waiting to open as soon as you stop knocking on the wrong one. And here's the hardest truth. Sometimes, what we're forcing isn't even what we truly want. It's what we think we should want, or what someone else made us believe we needed in order to feel worthy. So, we chase things that aren't ours, people who don't feel us, goals that drain us, and then we wonder why everything feels heavy, off, out of sync. But once you stop, really stop, it's like a reset button gets pressed inside your soul. Your clarity returns, not all at once, not in some dramatic lightning bolt moment, but in gentle pieces. You start noticing things you hadn't before. Your intuition gets louder. You don't feel desperate for answers anymore, because somehow you feel okay even without them. And that's when life begins to reveal the ones you never knew you needed. This is why so many people say, It happened when I least expected it, because they had finally surrendered. They stopped controlling and started trusting, and in that space of trust, where fear used to live, real transformation can begin. There's something sacred about the pause that happens after letting go. Most people think surrender is weakness, that giving up control means you've lost the game. But in truth, it's the first step toward finally being in alignment with life, instead of wrestling against it. And when you do that, things shift. You start feeling pulled instead of pushed. Opportunities begin to resonate with you instead of feeling forced. People enter your life who don't require you to chase or convince or shrink. It's like a frequency change. You stop attracting what drains you and begin calling in what was meant for you all along, but couldn't reach you while you were gripping so tightly to the wrong things. Think about how water flows. It doesn't try to control where it's going. It doesn't resist the rocks or try to change the shape of the river. It simply adapts, moves, flows, and eventually, it always finds its way. That's the energy of surrender. That's what happens when you trust the unfolding instead of demanding an outcome. And it's not passive. Letting go doesn't mean doing nothing. It means doing what feels aligned, not what feels desperate. It means showing up with presence, not panic. There's a difference between intentional effort and frantic control. The moment you understand that difference is the moment life starts meeting you with grace instead of resistance. Most people never get here. They cling until they break. But you have the chance to choose something else, to pause, to breathe, to release, and in doing so, to finally allow everything that's been trying to reach you to actually find you. But here's the part no one talks about. Letting go feels terrifying at first, because you've spent so long convincing yourself that your control is the reason things stay together. You believe that if you stop micromanaging every outcome, if you stop analyzing every detail, if you stop planning every move, everything will fall apart. That fear, it's real. It's the echo of old survival patterns. It's your nervous system saying, I don't know how to feel safe if I'm not in control. And yet, the irony is, the very thing you're trying to protect is what's keeping you stuck. You don't need to grip your life so tightly to keep it from falling apart. What if it's not about holding it together anymore, but about letting it evolve into something greater than you imagined? What if your version of keeping it together is actually limiting what's possible? Letting go doesn't mean giving up. It means giving space. Space for life to show you a route you didn't even know existed. Space for answers to rise that weren't available when your mind was busy trying to control everything. Space for your intuition to speak louder than your fear. And slowly, something starts to shift. You begin to breathe differently. You notice you're not reacting from panic anymore. You move with more trust, more ease. That constant background tension starts to fade. And in its place, peace, clarity, flow. Because letting go isn't about losing your power. It's about reclaiming it from all the places you gave it away. Something interesting happens when you let go. People notice. Life notices. It's as if the universe has been quietly waiting for you to stop gripping so tightly. And the moment you finally stop chasing, forcing, pushing, the energy shifts. That's when opportunities start flowing in from places you never considered. That's when people start showing up. Not the ones you tried so hard to impress, but the ones who are naturally aligned with you. And it's not some mystical reward for being passive. It's because your energy becomes open, receptive, magnetic. Think about it. When you're desperately trying to make something happen, your whole presence becomes tense, rigid. You broadcast a signal of lack, even if you don't say it out loud. But when you let go, when you say, I've done what I can, and now I trust life to meet me halfway, that's a whole different vibration. You stop trying to pull life toward you and instead start inviting it in. That invitation is subtle, but powerful. People feel it when you no longer need something from them. They feel it when your validation isn't on the table. They feel it when your presence is rooted in self-trust instead of craving approval. And in that space, real connections happen. Real growth begins. Not because you worked harder, but because you stopped resisting what was already trying to come your way. This isn't about becoming passive. It's about becoming available to something greater than your plans. Something that only moves when you stop trying to control its every step. Letting go doesn't mean giving up. That's where most people get it wrong. They think surrender is weakness, but in truth, it's a kind of silent strength that can't be faked. When you finally stop clinging, you create space for something more intelligent to guide you, your inner alignment. You stop operating from fear and start moving from clarity. Because here's what happens when you hold on too tightly. You start forcing timelines, chasing things that aren't meant for you, ignoring your intuition, and running yourself into the ground, trying to micromanage life. You convince yourself that more control means more security. But the truth? It often creates more chaos, more pressure, more confusion. Real power isn't found in trying to bend life to your will. It's in trusting that the right things will stay and the wrong ones will leave, without you having to beg or overthink. It's trusting that if something slips away, it's not punishment, it's redirection. You begin to see that life actually supports you when you stop trying to oversteer. That your role isn't to force the outcome, but to align your energy. Stay grounded and allow. You show up, yes. You still take action, but not from panic, from peace. And that changes the quality of everything. You write from a different place. You speak from a clearer space. You walk into rooms differently, not because you're trying to prove something, but because you finally know who you are without needing confirmation. When you stop looking for life to reassure you, life starts reflecting your own confidence back to you. And that's a shift no algorithm, no trend, no amount of validation can match. Here's the quiet truth most people miss. Life was never meant to be hunted down like a target. It was meant to be met halfway through presence, patience, and inner alignment. When you let go, you don't lose control. You finally invite cooperation. You stop trying to predict every move, and instead you allow life to surprise you. And often it surprises you in ways better than anything you were chasing. This shift doesn't happen overnight, but the moment you release that grip, even slightly, something starts moving. Subtle at first. A lighter energy in your chest, a sudden clarity in your mind, a message at the right time, a path you didn't see before, opening without effort. That's not random. That's the energy you freed up by no longer clinging to outcomes. So if you're in a place where you're tired of the push, the force, the constant tension, maybe this is your sign. Maybe it's not about doing more. Maybe it's time to allow, to trust, to breathe. And if you felt this shift too, if letting go opened up something unexpected for you, drop the word allowing in the comments below. Let's see how many of us are walking this quieter, clearer path together.